Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video, and in this one we're going to do a rabbit in charcoal. Now this is a portrait that I were commissioned to do a little bit before Christmas. It was as a Christmas present, and I decided to film it because it was somewhat, different, from usual dogs and cats and what have you. And I've had the footage just sitting there in folders for a few months, and I noticed it recently and thought I might as well do a video out of this now, because with Easter coming up it just seemed like an apt time, so here it is. So I'm using my normal charcoal pencils on toned paper, and I'll list all supplies that I'm using in description as per usual. And as usual, first thing I'm going to do is just start applying some whites, which is going to be of a mustard rabbit because it's only got a couple of little brown patches on its head and its ears, so most of it is going to be white. And I always just apply white first, and I just basically get it onto all areas, just using like little circular motions and getting paper covered up. I'm not trying to make it really opaque or anything because it's going to be blended and act as like a base layer later on. So there are some areas where there's some bright highlights, where sunshine is just hitting rabbit in various places, like top of its head and things like that. So I'm just adding some more white there, but I want the paper to show through for most of it, because most of the rabbit is actually shaded from the sun because of the position it's in relation to the sun. So the paper itself will help to achieve, them shadows basically. So I'm basically just looking at rabbit in photo and seeing where lighter areas are, and then seeing where the more dark areas are, and then I'm just applying a little bit more charcoal to the areas that are lighter, and then leaving the areas that are not as light. And by the way, I did do the outline of the rabbit on separate cheap paper before transferring it onto this, so that's why there were already an outline there, just in case you were wondering. So once enough white's been added, I'm just going to bring this black pencil in, and I'm just going to put some black on the darker areas. Anything that's darker than actual paper, I'll have some black put onto it. Not really much on this rabbit. Like I said, just a few patches on its head and its ears, its little collar around its neck, and there's 3 little slight patches just on near its back there. You can just see a little bit more of it's maybe like a harness. It's mostly hidden under its fur, but you can just see it just above them 3 little patches near its back as well. And now I'm just going to come in with this blending stump, and I'm just going to go over them darks. There's not many areas to go over and they're quite small, so I'm just using a little blending stump for, more delicate work. Obviously if you're working over a bigger area, then use a bigger one. You can get packs of these in with various sizes in them. Again, it's going to be listed in description if you want to have a look there. And then when I've blended them dark areas, I've got another blending stump that I use for light tones, and I'm just going to go over all whites. I try to have different stumps for darks and lights, so that when I'm blending I'm not like contaminating one with other, so I can keep some for lights and some for darks. So once all that's done, I'm coming back in with the white pencil and I'm just going to start adding details and what have you now. Firstly, I'm just going to add them onto head and ears and what have you. Anyway, where there's some light hitting ears, there's some light shining through that nearest ear, so there's quite a bright patch. It's pink in photo, but obviously I'm working in black and white, so I'm just going to add some white there to represent the light coming through ear. And also I'm going to develop the highlights that are going on the white parts at fur as well. So I'm just going to develop them some more and then obviously add some fur texture. You don't want to be going overboard with that on this because rabbits have got quite soft fur, so you've not got like really pronounced hair texture showing, so you've just got to keep it a little bit more on the subtle side. This is also when I start doing general like refining of small details, such as rim round eye, little catch light in eye, little details on dark fur that are a little bit lighter. If there's any parts at dark fur that were a little bit too dark after blending, this is when you just lighten them up a little bit by adding some white on top. So anyway, I'm going to upload this video to Patreon in real time probably. I did speed it up a little bit for YouTube because people don't tend to want to sit through really long videos anyway, and then you just get a really low retention, which don't really help your video. So I sped it up a little bit, but I tried to limit how much I sped this up so that you could still pretty much see what it were I was doing. It's just that it weren't taking as long. I've not launched Patreon just yet because I'm still adding some content to it. I want to make sure there's pretty decent library of stuff already on there before I launch it and people can join it, and then they've got plenty of stuff to get stuck into. And another bit of news is that I've just ordered, literally today, a pack of coloured charcoal pencils. So I've got to wait for them to arrive and then I'm going to have a play around with them, and then there might be some videos coming up with coloured charcoal pencil drawings. So once I've applied that other layer of white, I'm just going to come back in with the Tombow eraser, and I'm just going to erase a little bit where there's some shadows. If you look in the reference photo, the shadows are often a similar colour to what this paper actually is, so paper can actually act as shadows on that white fur. And then you've seen me just go quickly over it with that paintbrush with soft bristles because it doesn't blend it as much as a stump, so it just gives it a slightly soft effect. And then just a quick touch up again with the blending stump, not going too heavy with that this time. And then it's basically just a case of just adding some final details with black and white pencils, giving it some whiskers, that kind of thing, and just refining little details in ears and stuff. And now that bunny's completed, we need to do some ground for the bunny to sit on. And I'm just going to do a little patch of grass. I'll probably make it a little bit nicer than what it is in photo. And I'm just starting off with some black charcoal to create a dark base. All I'm going to do is create a little circle around its feet. And then I'll come in with blending stump and I'll just blend it all out. So once that's all blended out, I'm going to come in with white pencil and I'm just going to start adding little grass details and other little like weeds and leaves and things that, you know, similar to like clovers and what have you, just so it just breaks it up a little bit, makes it look a little bit more authentic. And then just a little bit of treatment with brush and blending stump and a little bit more pencil and a few last touches added, and that's pretty much done. A few dark strokes with black pencil just in front of feet there to make the feet look like they're actually in grass and not on top of it, so to speak, and there's that grass actually growing up in front of its feet. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, something a little bit different, a bunny rabbit. Like I say, we're Easter coming up, it were quite an appropriate time to upload a bunny. If you've enjoyed it, give my video a like as it really helps it gets pushed out to more people. Feel free to add any comments and suggestions below, and I'll leave you to just finish off rest of the video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!